Welcome to your lofty program, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motion for national development. And as we normally say, when it comes to national development and all that entails in our national well-being, you are part of it too. This morning, we shall delve into a situation, into a train that has just started leaving the station. What am I talking about here? Politics has started. News is rife that Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally declared his intent, which is his right though, for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria come 2023. And as such, you and I can say, yes, politics and politicking is on the roll. But this morning, we shall be talking about one of the two people that makes it work. One of the two essentials in the electorate. And by that I mean the women and the youths. But here and now on this segment, we shall be talking about the women. And we shall look at why is it that women are not properly represented. Which gives us the caption for today, which is analyzing women representation in elective positions. I repeat that. Analyzing women representation in elective positions. Don't forget the fact that I said when it comes to the electorate, it is the women and the youths that determine what happens. How on earth is their representation on a low level? I have with me in the studio my brother, my friend, a political scientist, and the person of Mr. Cosmas Uzodinma. My brother, you're welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure once again.
We like your presence because your insights are always apt and appropriate.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Like I rightly said in the opening, we are discussing one of the factors of the electorate that is very important in the electorate, and at the same time, they have a very low representation when it comes to governance. And by that, we're talking about the women folks. Let me give us some insights. Let me educate our viewers a little bit. As per the Fourth World Congress on Women in Beijing, yes, they advocated for 30% of women participation in what is called governance. If we come indoors and look at our own national gender policy, we moved it up a notch. We said our own should be 35%. Before we go into the fact that we are not getting enough of what we are saying, please can you lend credence to this 30% from Beijing and 35% that is our Nigerian content?
Well, yes, we were all young officers in 1995. I participated in preparing the women for that Beijing conference. Then I was an information officer in Abuja Municipal Council.
That's good.
And by the time they came back, everything was Beijing, Beijing, Beijing. Yeah, there were some, little efforts by the then military administration to maybe put women in various positions, ministries, and all the rest of them. But by the time politics came in 1999, we noticed a kind of a gradient from...
Was it upward or descending?
It went upward then.
That's good.
The total number of women that were perhaps in the National Assembly,
okay,
you could see we went from 31, 33, 35, and began to nosedive. Mm-hmm. Now you have a total of 27.
It was 6%.
When we were expecting that it should improve, we are noticing a decline. But I also say that all these issues about 30% affirmative action, 35% affirmative action, it's also surprising that even the most advanced countries of the world have not been able to achieve that.
So we are not in the back. We are not in the back books yet.
In the United States of America, in their Senate, about 100 people in the Senate, but they have only 24 women.
And in the, it's about 120 in the reps.
Yes, about 120 in the reps against 435 members.
That's true.
So you notice it's slightly less than 25%.
Yes, of course.
So what is
we're still managing. We're a work in progress.
Well, it's a work in progress.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's based on what you just said now, running an inference into 1995 Beijing to date. I would still like to go back some more because we need to tell the women folks, we need to ask them questions, we need to advise them where they've gone wrong, and then we'll put it on the table of global index.
Yeah.
If we go back to the pre-colonial era, I can say for real that those days, you wouldn't believe it. In Nigeria, we had 17 women that were traditional rulers.
Yeah.
I can give you the details.
Yeah.
In Oyo State, we had 4. The Jomi Jomi, Jekpo Jekpo were one of them. Jomi Jomi was one, Jekpo Jekpo was one. If you go to Katsina, we had 8. Most of them in the Dara axis.
Yes.
If you go to Osun, we had one that was an equivalent of the Oni of Ife. They call her the Luo Bediaja. If you go to Bayelsa, there was Queen Kembasa. And the one that was the most popular was Queen Amina.
Queen Amina,
of
yes.
Zazzau in Kaduna State.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
The
As at
war
that
lady,
time,
yes.
they had 17 traditional rulers, what we call first class
Yes.
Obas.
Yes.
But as we speak now, none. Even as regions,
And in the Niger Delta, in the Abo area, they had a woman they called the Omu,
yes,
who technically shared power
that's true.
with the Obi.
That's right.
You
That's
know.
right. You see, with all this background info that we're talking about, and at the same time, we are not getting it. We're supposed to be work in progress, like we said earlier,
Yes.
an improvement in what is on ground.
Yes.
Along these traditional lines, make it short. What do you think happened that we lost? They lost it. The women folk lost it.
I think even within the Igbo society,
Okay, that like you going low.
while the chiefs were basically men, they were surrounded by women that had voice
Okay.
in the events, in the policies.
Okay.
There were the Aladima women.
All
There
right.
were the Umuadas.
All
They
right.
were not pushovers. They were solid, like you have said. But I think something happened. I think with the onset of religion.
But we had religion then.
Yeah, I mean, let me say, the Bible and
The Quran.
the Quran, all these things. They had most of the tenets was like were somewhat put the women on the back foot.
Okay.
They were like, I think it put the women on the back foot. And again, I can also add that what happened was when education, at the onset of education, the women were not pushed forward. And with the emergence of the modern society,
Okay.
you could see that the modern society, you needed Western education to enter the modern economy, to enter the modern society. And because women education was not emphasized, so men were pushed forward. And automatically it was men that began to dominate in every facet of the economy, in politics, in economy, in education, and all the ramifications of the society.
Thank you. At
Yes.
that juncture, let me move forward because when I asked that question, I went back a little bit and talked about pre-colonial eras and then
Yes.
talk about these our traditional
Yes.
rulers. Let's now come post-colonial because the graph has been nosediving, to use your word.
Yes.
Even as a post-colonial era, in our parliament then we only had about to 1966, post-colonial till 66. We only had about 3 women. We had Margaret Ekpo, we had Janet Mogelu, and one Mrs. Young Ekpo.
Yes.
Just 3 of them. How come? Is it the numbers are dwindling?
And Ransom Kuti.
Fulaya
Ransom
around
Kuti,
some
yes.
Kuti. The numbers were dwindling.
Dwindling, yes.
That is post colonial, during the
immediate post-colonial
immediate
era.
post-colonial
Era, yes.
something must have happened then, because let me infuse what happened again between the Republic of 79 to 83.
Yes.
Even as at that time, if I give you a fusion of the women, there were some of them that were ministers like Janet Akinriade, Boya Bola, and Francesca Emmanuel, that was a permanent secretary, and then Franca Afegwa, which was the first female. She was a female senator.
It made waves.
She made waves. But at the same time, what I've given to you now is between post-colonial and 1983.
Yes.
There wasn't much of presence.
Yes.
Why is that? Let's share your thoughts between that 66 and 83. Why is there such a low number? Because most of all these people, if not all of them, are highly educated.
Yeah. Well, they were highly educated, but it is in the number. What we're looking at now is the number of women that have been equipped, that have had the momentum, that had the audacity to venture in. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't. We will definitely notice the decline. It will. I mean, it's not to say a decline, but it will be rough graph. It will rise up and come down, and the reason for that is, like I've said, women participation in the economy. These things involve resources.
Of course,
it involves resources.
Time and resources. If you look at we could talk about one Nigerian billionaire, but if you look at the billionaires in the country, the men predominate, and Nigerian politics is money centered. Of course.
And because it's money centers, how many women are ready to bring out the volume
or
of
even
money?
Have the wherewithal
they have the wherewithal to do it. And how many of them have the exposure? And how many of them have generated this? You don't just jump into politics. For instance, you start as a student union leader. How many women are student union leaders? Maybe you start as a trade union leader. Maybe National Union of Road Transport Workers. Maybe if you go into the Nigerian Bar Association, how many women have risen to become president of Nigerian Bar Association?
Yeah, they will probably at this juncture, they will probably tell you they don't have the enabling environment.
This is it.
Somebody has just sent me an SMS that they will jump on you for saying they are not doing enough, that they are trying. It is the men folks that are not giving them the aptitude and the level playing field to get there. Let's move.
I want to add immediately.
Go ahead.
Men folk are not giving. You see, we even easily say that no ruling class
will give up
willingly hands over power.
Impossible.
You take power.
Impossible.
You don't say the men are stopping you. No. Well, and men should not say women are stopping them. What I'm talking about, come out on the sphere of public discourses.
Okay.
And show your mettle. Demonstrate your capacity. That's what we're saying.
Okay, based on this, let's get present. Let's get current.
Yes.
We've talked about we've talked about post, we've talked about the first 2-3 republics that we've had. Now let's talk presently.
Yes.
Presently in our Senate, we have 109 senators, and there are only 7 women.
7 women, yes.
In the House of Rep, we have 360.
Yes.
And we only have 22
women, yes. Less than 10% in all circumstances. 6%.
What do you think is wrong? Because you see the trajectory.
Yes.
Pre-colonial era, post-colonial era, first 2-3 republics that we had, the numbers are not improving. They keep coming down.
Yes, I'll keep saying that it boils down to that same level. To what extent are women learning the ropes? You start learning the ropes even from primary school, from secondary school. There is a secondary school that my son attended. I don't want to mention it so that it doesn't sound like it's an commercial. Yes, it doesn't sound commercial. I saw my little boy preparing to run as a commissioner as a minister of transport.
You kidding?
As a minister of transport. When my son was in class 2, he was running. In fact, that school, their prefects, they organize them. They don't just appoint prefects. All the prefectorial positions, you run for them. But I noticed that it's a co-educational institution. I noticed it was mainly the boys they were running for those positions.
So in other words, you're saying they never had the aptitude, they never had the verve to start at that early stage.
Yes, and some schools, I know a school in the East, when compared with my own school, while in my own school, the school authorities will come in the beginning of the year and appoint prefects.
Yes.
But that school in Onitsha, they don't appoint prefects. Everybody run election. The school captain is voted. Dormitory prefects are voted. And right at a point in time, they dominated the elected positions in the East. Because as at that time, they had learned
they had learned the ropes about politicking,
Yes.
how to negotiate, how to woo people
Sure.
that are going to vote.
So while you saw my schools, we did well in appointed position. We were experts, good doctors, good literature writers like Chinua Achebe, all these things.
And the likes of them.
But when it came to who were the politicians, it was in the southeast of that time. It was mainly students of that school. I began to ask, why is it that this school is dominating the political class?
swear.
I noticed that, yes, in their school system, they run elections. I would suggest that in girls' schools these days, they should also run elections.
Good, good.
Because you begin to learn. You begin to teach these women leadership position and how to negotiate.
That's
And
good.
those.
And to you, our viewers out there, I would like to reiterate what my brother here, Cosmos Uzodimma, I told you earlier, he has insights that we can pick on. He has insights that we can learn from. Like I said, somebody sent me an SMS saying they would descend on him for saying they are not trying enough. But what I'm saying here is simple. He has given us an insight into what makes politicians. You have to start on a low level. You have to start from the grassroots level. I am not undermining your position when it comes to politicking, because your power in the electorate, nobody can fault it. But the thing is, how do you, our women folk, how do you breed the girls into the ladies, into the women of politics? It's high time you start from the grassroots level. There is no gainsaying here. When it comes to the corporate world, you are there. You run a good competition with the men, because in that instance, we're talking about knowledge, you're talking about mentality, you're talking about merit, you're talking about experience. Those are factors that are good in the corporate world. How many of you, I repeat, how many of you are ready to come into the political class? The first thing you say is, no, politics is a dirty game. The moment you isolate yourself, those that look up to you as mentors will also isolate themselves away from politics. So it's high time you start from the grassroots, like Cosmos Uzodimma said, and move up and start breeding women that are
Absolutely.
politicians.
Yes.
Politicians. People will say politics is a dirty game. Yes, it is dirty, but it is the game that rules you. The aptitude you have in the corporate world is good enough in politics. I am going to ask our brother here our next question, which goes around the fact that lately or some time back, you were asking for a kind of, in quote, a quota system in the National Assembly, whereby 111 seats are created for women. I want you to look at it from the perspective of, fine, we practice quota system in Nigeria a lot. We might as well do it when it comes to the National Assembly. What do you think about this?
Yeah, that's something we talk about, structural functionalism. The concept of structural functionalism is that you don't divorce the functions, the upper echelon, or the activities you see at the political level from the structures of the society.
Okay.
It is the structural infrastructure that generates what happens up there.
Of course.
If you make law and say 120 or thereabouts seats will be reserved for women, then are you going to allocate constituencies that should bring women?
No, in that instance,
Yes.
I believe the parties
Yes.
if the parties are taken,
Yes.
they are along, they roll together.
Yes.
The parties will make the provision at the level of nomination.
Yes.
If they do that at the level of nomination, so it becomes, it's not going to be given to you on a platter of gold.
Yes, exactly.
If you are nominated on a party platform,
Yes.
you're going to go out there and campaign
Yeah.
against a former female, another female in another party.
Yeah.
So that is part of what we're looking at. Along those lines, go ahead,
It
please.
it is important.
Highly.
If we must bring women, there is something. The concept of affirmative action is a necessity
Okay.
because our women have proven they have the capacity. At the United Nations, it's a Nigerian woman that is holding forth at the United Nations. I think the first African to rise to that top of being a Deputy Secretary General.
That's right.
At the World Trade Organization, our women are dominating.
Yes,
At the
course,
international civil service level, international
yes.
public service level. We have Konjo Iweala, who is presiding at the World Trade Organization.
That's right.
We have another lady, although brought up in London, Sandra Okoro, who is a top notch in the World Bank, and a number of, if not our only redeeming grace is Akin Adesina, who is at the
African
Development Bank.
So in other words, the women are beating the men to it when it comes to international level.
At the international level. So the women are doing well.
How would you advise them to translate that home?
During the public service, during my service time, I worked with 3 women as the chief executives, either of the local government, of the agency I'm working on, or the rest of them. And those women did extremely well and even did better than the men I worked with.
On this level.
So, but it comes to, it shows that if the fear is that they are not going to do it, I want to say they can do it. Women have the capacity to.
You want to give them the push that they should come out and
should,
go ahead.
They should come out. And when you say things, people say things like politics is a dirty game. I keep telling people, I say nothing is dirty. Is when the person is dirty that whatever he's doing becomes dirty.
The perception should be different.
No, because the other day I was studying my Bible, I said that give honor to whom honor is due,
yes.
Respect to whom respect is due.
Of course.
He said that respect the king, respect people in power because they are God's ministers, and that there is no authority than from God. What that means is that in politics, those people that are there are elected by God. So if we think that our politics cannot be dirty, then it means that our religious institutions are dirty. So it's not only thing, because it's the same human being. We come from it means that our educational institutions are dirty. So politics cannot be dirty. Okay. Because it's because we keep, when we say this, because it is the institution that brings out those that govern us.
If yes.
So if there's a problem with it, is that problem, what I'm saying, there's a problem with politics. That problem is not isolated to politics only. It is pervasive.
That's true.
So we should not blackmail politics alone.
Thank you for your insight. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your insights. On this note, we would like to say one big thank you to my brother, Cosmas Uzodinma, who has shared his insights with us. And one of the baseline insights he gave to us and to the women folk is, go to the grassroots, train the girls to become politicians. And when they grow, they will become, to use the word of Mbadiwe, they will become political juggernauts. On this note, I'll say thank you for honoring our invite.
Thank you.
And to your guests, our viewers, don't go away. The program continues shortly.
Thank you.